Hey, good morning, everyone. Everyone had a good rest last night? Good. Well, thank you for kicking us off this morning with actually, this is something at NAU we have been just very recently involved in. So I'm super excited for your presentation. So we're delighted to hear more about empowering institutions, navigating HSI designation for funding success. We have three presenters. It's a true tri-university presentation this morning, which is fantastic. Hayley Bohall from ASU here, Riley McIsaac from U of A, and Claudia Rodas from NAU. And next slide, please, Riley. Thank you. Just want to take a moment to acknowledge their land acknowledgement statement.
Next slide, please.
Hand it over to you. Thanks, Hayley.
Good morning. Thank you for being here, and thank you to those online. I'm Hayley Bohall, Associate Director for Research Development at ASU. So we work with research administrators and faculty in preparation of proposals. Riley, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, and just so you know, Hayley, we can't hear you quite as well as we could hear the woman who introduced. So I'm not sure who might be closer to the microphone, but just as an FYI.
Thank you. Is this a little better?
Yes.
Great.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. My name is Riley McIsaac, and I serve as the Director of HSI Grants Development in the Office of HSI Initiatives at the University of Arizona. So happy to be here with you all today. Claudia?
Buenos dias, I'm Claudia Rodas, and I serve as the HSI advisor to the provost. And I also work in the College of Education as an associate teaching professor. It's good to be here today.
So I wanted to just mention that Hispanic is a federally designated umbrella term used to categorize and track numbers across census fashion information. And ASU sees this data as key to understanding intentional design and expanding access and inclusion. It might not be how people define themselves or how other terminology is used. So just a little note there that there's lots of terms for this community, and I'm not an expert in them, but ASU has tried to provide some language around that for people to have a better understanding.
Okay, so we're just going to jump right in here. We wanted to give some sort of high-level background for those of you who may not be as familiar as we are with HSIs. So some questions I hope we can answer and perhaps have you sort of walk away thinking about after our presentation today. First, I'll kind of give a high-level explanation of what HSIs are. And it's possible you could be thinking, why should I care? What does it have to do with me and my role? As a research administrator, how might I be part of advancing HSI efforts? So I really hope this kind of final question is one that some of our presentation today will allow you to think about and then take back with you to your work. So jumping right in, what is a Hispanic Serving Institution? So it's a federal designation by the Department of Education that acknowledges a higher education institution that enrolls at least 25% Hispanic or Latinx identifying students. And this is through the IPEDS data. In addition, there are some additional qualifications that I think a lot of folks aren't aware of. You also need to demonstrate a high concentration of students who are eligible for Pell Grants. So there's a needy student component. So a lot of our work, folks will say, well, I don't have Hispanic students, or this designation is not just for Hispanic or Latinx identifying students. This really is a designation that encompasses all of our underserved student communities. So one thing people often don't know is that we have to apply every single year to receive this designation. We have to show that we have met this threshold. It does not come with any guaranteed funding. And however, as many of you I'm sure are aware in this room, it does then give the institution eligibility to apply to certain funding opportunities. So this is just a map just to sort of give you the national landscape. The matrix just came out from the Department of Ed, and we are now at 600 HSIs in the nation. There are over 400 emerging HSIs, which are institutions that haven't quite met that 25% threshold. They are somewhere between 15% and 24.9%. So looking here at Arizona, the orange arrow, we have 20 HSIs in our state and 6 emerging HSIs. So in terms of, we have a list here. I think one of these fell off this past year. So this was 21. We're now at 20 HSIs in our state. And you may be thinking, okay, well, you know, what does this mean for me? We know that our tri-universities, the 3 represented here today, are all HSIs. And we also have high research activity at our schools. Many of our HSI community partners do not. And a key sort of directive and initiative of my office is to establish partners with as many of our Arizona HSIs as we can, because there are incredible opportunities for synergy going after funding opportunities with these intentional partnerships. So that being said, I wanted to bring up that in 2021, the Arizona HSI Consortium was launched by Marla Franco, who I report to here at the University of Arizona, who's our Vice President for HSI Initiatives, and Ray Rivera at Estrella Mountain Community College. The goals of this consortium are to develop a community of practice, to engage collectively in professional development, to support the exchange of evidence-based and culturally relevant practices, to facilitate successful transfer of Latinx students to Arizona universities. And this one, most relevant to our community, our audience today, collaborate across HSIs when seeking funding opportunities and other important partnerships. So as many of us are aware, in the research administration, research development community, many funding opportunities now encourage or mandate partnerships between research intensive schools and those with less resources. Many of our 2-year partners, for example. So one thing I wanted to bring some thought and awareness to is looking beyond enrollment. So the enrollment is simply a metric you hit. It doesn't make you a Hispanic serving institution, right? It just means you have a population of a certain demographic. So how do we move beyond thinking about this enrollment metric towards this concept of serving? So Dr. Gina Garcia is one of the leading scholars in the HSI space, and she says neither the percentage of Latinx students nor the federal designation actually defines what it means to be an HSI. So trying to define every HSI has to do its own work. This is every HSI's own journey, is to kind of make that self-study to see how they want to serve their community. What Gina Garcia has said is that Latinx serving, we have the enrolls 25%, also produces equitable outcomes for Latinx students and enacts a culture that is educationally affirming, culturally responsive, and welcome. So I think this is an important concept to think about, moving beyond the enrollment metric towards servingness. So again, Garcia, Nunez, and Sansone define servingness, say servingness is the concept that is multidimensional and conceptual, in a conceptual way to understand what it means to move from simply enrolling Latinx students to actually serving them. So what does this have to do with the field of research administration or research development, which is my field? So the way I look at this is grants, research development, and administration are key tools in serving our underrepresented students and communities. These disciplines allow for the development, the funding, and the administration of quality programs that increase academic success and the well-being of our students. So one statistic I'm particularly proud of here in this space, you know, a lot of it is just about fundraising. It's a lot of what I do. But since we received our designation in 2018, my office, HSI Initiatives, has directly supported proposal development throughout campus that I've sort of tracked, that I know my office has been a part of, resulting in $81 million in awarded projects. So there are, you know, real valuable impacts for this work. In terms of what I do, so maybe some of you want to reach out or are interested perhaps in establishing something similar or working towards this at your own campus. I work to identify and track the HSI related funding opportunities. So really that's one of my key pieces is I need to be the go-to person at the University of Arizona to know when are these coming out? How much did Congress appropriate for these programs? What is our strategy? What are we ready to go after? What do we need to table for next year? Who do we have? So I provide the strategy for responding to the institution-wide funding opportunities such as Title V from the Department of Education, ensure the alignment with HSI-focused efforts, connect PIs and teams with these funding opportunities. I consult with individuals or teams to strategize proposal development and work with teams to obtain institutional data that strengthen our arguments and our grants. And then finally, deliver in-depth proposal support for limited submission proposals at the institution. So one way I look at this, and I think many of you may as well, there are really sort of three buckets of funding opportunities that I track and I pay attention to and provide support for. Not just HSI programs. Certainly those are at the top of my list to make sure I'm on top of them, but there are also some minority serving institution eligible programs. There, as many of you I'm sure are aware, sometimes the eligibility gets a little gray there for HSIs, but we usually are eligible via our HSI status for these kinds of programs. And then the third bucket is other equity focused programs. So there's no HSI or MSI requirement to these funding opportunities, but they have an intentional focus on equity or other diversity, inclusion and equity type programming. So I really kind of look at funding opportunities within these three spaces and support these three spaces on campus. One resource I maintain, and actually I desperately need to update this. So, but on our website is I try and curate my own list of funding opportunities that fall into those three buckets that I just mentioned. So these are not just HSI only opportunities. These are others that have whether MSI or a clear equity focus to them. And I think this is my last slide possibly. I just wanted to bring attention to one of the tools, the resources that we have developed at the University of Arizona for capacity building in this space. This is mostly in the development kind of pre-award side. I'm thinking a lot about adding a post-award component to this for new PIs who get an award for the first time and really don't quite know where to go from there. So we've had 3, I think this November will be our 4th HSI Grants Development Institute. These are just some statistics from last year's. We have decided to open it up to all of Arizona, any faculty, staff, graduate student, postdoc from an HSI in Arizona. And this year, we are even going to be allowing some select teams from outside of Arizona to participate. This is funded by an NSF grant currently. So the purpose of this opportunity is to build capacity for HSIs to respond to funding opportunities by 1, generating awareness of HSI-related funding opportunities, 2, strengthening understanding of HSI models and frameworks, and 3, cultivating networks among those with shared equity-focused interests for pursuing HSI-related funding. So if you know of anyone or are interested yourself, save the date, reach out to me about the upcoming Grants Development Institute. It will be this year at Pima Community College, our close partner here in Tucson. And their new space, we are super excited about that. Okay, I think this is you, Hayley.
This is me, bright and gold, as ASU always likes to brand things. I wanted to talk about a few of the services our research development office has, similar to Riley's office, though we're not in the Hispanic Serving Initiative space, and we have a separate group for that. And they also have services for PIs and faculty searching for opportunities. We have a list of opportunities that we maintain on our website that you can check out and see if we're eligible for things. Again, our eligibility is always a little gray, especially right at the beginning when we weren't on the DO Ed matrix list. So we've had some charts and things to just define that a little better, and that's open for people to look at. We have a limited submissions process, of course, which a lot of HSIs are limited. So that kind of flows through our office, and we provide reviews and commentary on all of those applications. And of course, we provide proposal development support for strategic or large initiatives, and we help with proposal writing and development in that space. Next slide. These are some links, so if the slides are provided online after, you can click on these links and get to the HSI tracker, the community connections, eligibility and records of all of our documentation, and the faculty support and development space that was just hosted on the HSI initiatives group at ASU. So just some links for you to actually get to these places later. Next slide. Claudia, I believe this is back to you.
Thank you. And I just wanted to point out that Riley brought up the Arizona HSI Consortium. We are very happy at NAU to be able to host the next consortium meeting. It's a conference type where there are lots of breakout sessions and a lot of networking. And I was there at U of A last year, and it was just amazing how we were able to connect with different people and, learn so much from partners who have gone through this process that we are just starting. So just so you know, we are hosting that pretty soon. So please reach out if you have any questions. We are happy to provide that information from you.
October 4th. I'm just giving you the date.
Thank you. I couldn't think of it. October 4th at NAU, just come, it's going to be a really great experience to have that. So in terms of the Department of Education HSI grants that we can use, we talked about before the different buckets. And here at NAU, we have been working on applying for all of these different grants. It's labor intensive, as you might know. Title V is the bigger one. And this one is for developing HSIs, and is really, really great because one of the things that we were looking at is looking at improving academic offerings. We're looking at different counseling programs. It allows you to buy all different kind of equipment and infrastructure and faculty development. And that is one of the great things that this particular grant has. It's basically more for support services for students. So if you're looking at anything that related to that kind of support in faculty and student development, that would definitely be the place to go. The STEM, as you know, Latinx students, numbers in the STEM fields is lower than other fields. So the purpose of this grant is to increase the number of our Latinx students and low-income students coming and getting those degrees in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So this one in particular looks at the transferring between the community colleges and the universities. Right now, for example, in Yuma, we just worked with AWC, which is the community college in Yuma, and established a engineering program that we've had on the mountain campus for a very long time, but now it's available in Yuma, and students have been really excited about that. So it was a lot of work, but we are still applying for those grants in order to make it easier for students to be able to apply and create those learning environments for students where they are in the state, not just in Flagstaff. And the other one is post-bac opportunities for our students. And this one in particular is looking at the academic attainment of students. And we are looking at post-secondary degrees. And this one in particular is more for outreach efforts to our students who have completed their undergraduate degree, and they want to, go on and continue getting a master's and so on. So those are the big ones. So I don't know how you're handling questions in the room, Hayley, but if you have questions on Zoom, please type them in and we can address those as we go. Riley, okay. So as I said, Title V is one of the big grants that a lot of institutions have been able to get. We've been trying really hard at NAU to be able to grab one of these, and we have been unsuccessful so far. We are going to, next time it comes out, we'll be ready again and trying to get this. And one of the big things is some of the challenges is that we have found, and especially, and I'm talking for personal experience here at NAU, is that the people that are applying for those federal grants is decentralized. I know that U of A has done a really great job in having an HSI office where everything is going through the office and they're keeping track of all these grant applications. We are not there at NAU. We are in the process of heading in that direction, but because it's so decentralized, we don't have the opportunity to really network and really be able to come together in order to apply these grants and take efforts from different people. The difficulty in buy-in and sustaining these programs in the long term, in some institutions, that is one of the things that people really do talk about. We are fortunate at NAU that we do have that institutional buy-in and coming straight from the president all the way down and trying to sustain any initiative that comes from those grants. And the other one is in developing an institutional-wide HSI identity. And that is a process that if your institution is going through that right now, that you just obtain HSI, This is the process that we have been at NAU over the past 2 years. We have been able to engage with multiple stakeholders. We met with students and leadership and staff and faculty, and trying to understand what it means to them to be an HSI. So we are in the process of looking at that. We are in the process of creating our mission and values. That was something that with the help of Dr. Luis Fernandez, we did last year. And now we're in the process of integrating those mission and values into the whole institution, elevating excellence. So some of these strategies, I've already engaged with them as I've been talking to you about it, but it's really important for us to engage everyone across campus in order for you to meet those challenges. I think one of the most important things is that we have been really good at reaching out to different HSI organizations. And also we've been leaning on the HSI, the Arizona HSI Consortium. We have been very helpful. Marla Franco has been up here in Flagstaff, and she has been very helpful in helping us and leading us in trying to inform our decisions and our process. So that collaboration is always really important. And it has helped us to not only enhance that conversation, but it also has helped us in, as we search for a VP of Inclusive Excellence, we were able to rely on our friends to help us process and attain those goals. Now, I'm going back to the same thing. I kind of put it all together, but some of the strategies that we have been using here at NAU has been to engage with different HSI organizations. HACU, AHI, and Excellence in Education have been one of the top 3 that we have been using. We are looking, for example, in the College of Education, we form a task force, an HSI task force, and we've been using listening groups across the state. We had a few weeks ago, we had 2 of them in Yuma. We had one online. We had one here in Phoenix at the North Valley campus, and we had another listening session at the College of Ed in Flagstaff. And we're really engaging with our students and trying to understand what is it that they see when they think of ANAU as an HSI? What are their expectations? How is that helping them? How is that support system that they're receiving? How is them helping them to look for their identity and engaging with who they are and promoting that identity to help them succeed in the fields that they have chosen. The next slide, please. And I think that goes right back to you, Briley.
Sure. Yeah, so this is just a little exercise. My team, we often like to have people think about when we give presentations. And so I know this has just been kind of a crash course, and many of you may not have even been familiar with the concept of servingness prior, but I thought I would ask, and this is both for those of you in the room, online, you can put answers in the chat, or perhaps ask to be unmiked. We may be able to do that. You also have a mic, is that right, Hayley, for folks in the room? Okay, wonderful. Yes. So what does servingness mean to you? How might you incorporate HSI related efforts? And you might sort of just put DE&I there for now, if you're not real familiar with some of the HSI concepts, into your role in research administration or research development or whatever your role is. So just curious what people's thoughts are.
Does anyone in the room want to have a chat? Let me walk the microphone to you so that all can hear online.
Hello, my name is Alexis. Louder. Okay, hi, I'm Alexis, and I was just thinking about how to inform my faculty about it and how to share this information, this resources, and then how to improve my language to help them improve theirs. So that would be my service.
Thank you.
That's a wonderful question. I think that flow down is so important and it's really challenging. One strategy we have used and continue to use regularly is in developing webinars. So I'm not sure if you were from NAU or ASU, but
She's actually,
sorry?
she's with me at ASU and I've not met her.
Okay, great. You know, one resource we maintain is a YouTube channel where we post lots of our past webinars. So we really kind of try and, you know, make sure we're working smarter, not harder in terms of having some of these, recorded. So if we give a webinar, for example, on one of these funding opportunities, you know, then we're able to just sort of shoot that link over to faculty when they're interested. So I do think that's one opportunity or one strategy. There's also, we have a newsletter that our Office of Research, Innovation and Impact maintains. Some of the opportunities get listed and then, you know, contact Riley if you're interested. So I think there's some sort of self work that, you know, needs to be undertaken so that you are familiar with some of the concepts, and then it becomes kind of an outreach you know, exercise in terms of using the tools that work best for your faculty. And I know in research development, that is the $1 million question, right? So I don't know if my co-presenters have anything to add to that.
Yeah, just a little bit from the ASU side. We do have an inclusion section in our newsletter where we highlight HSI opportunities and other relevant HSI or MSI or inclusion topics and articles. So that's really an interesting section. There's at least one a month. Not always there, but at least one a month is our goal. And then of course, the webinars is something that we will be developing in the next year or so. Our HSI designation is so new. We haven't quite gotten there yet, but I'll be looking at the U of A model to do that, to match our PDW series, our proposal development workshop series, to add in an inclusion or HSI topic there. We do have a PDW that was released last month around the topic of first generation researchers, which provides a lot of support to the faculty base in that area. So that's one to check out that you can find in our newsletter every Friday, which is available to everybody, not just ASU. So if the NAU colleagues or U of A colleagues like to sign up, you can absolutely sign up. It's funding.asu.edu, because I know I get the U of A one. So we all share. Yeah, funding.asu.edu. And I will totally give you my business card later.
Claudia, do you have anything to add from your side?
Yes, so we actually also go through, if you look under the HSI webpage, you will be able to find there as well. So similar to what you guys were discussing. And we have a couple of questions online.
Yeah, let's see. If you were able to track and measure it, how are capturing the impact of your institutions? How are you capturing the impact of the designation? This is a fantastic question. This is something I am thinking about all the time. I did not get into the tracking mechanism that we have implemented. So I mentioned an $81 million metric. That is something that, you know, my shadow Excel bookkeeping I'm aware of because I worked on all those proposals. But we recognizing the value of tracking the impact, and nothing speaks louder often than dollars, is a project we implemented in 2021 through our kind of pre-proposal UA research system. So everyone, you know, I'm sure everybody has their own similar procedure, but when a PI or their administrator or whoever is initiating a proposal goes in and creates the proposal within our system, there's a series of questions. You know, does it involve biohazards, right? Does it involve native nations? So we were able to include a question in that pre-proposal stage that is very broad. I am not super pleased with it. It's a work in progress because it's generally, does your proposed project involve minority populations? So obviously everyone in health sciences, which is the bulk of our proposals on campus, is checking that box, right? And so those numbers are very big. It is certainly an interesting metric to look at in terms of DE&I related proposal activity. And then I also track, you know, awards, where they're coming from, colleges, et cetera. You know, I have it on my to-do list to kind of figure out if we can tweak and refine it a bit. The problem is there's like a 20 character maximum, you know, in it. So it's really sort of a challenging issue, but I think it's very important, especially, you know, everyone knows the current financial situation that the University of Arizona is in. So, you know, I think it's extremely important that my office be on top of the impact that our HSI designation has in terms of the sponsored awards that it's bringing in, and then, you know, the amazing programming that is enabled through the sponsor projects. So that's kind of the way I look at it on my side. It's kind of cut and dry about the money.
Well, there's another question in the room. Just 1 second.
Hi, good morning. I'm Nikki from NAU. And so I was involved on the very periphery of our recent HSI renewal process. What an amazing team we had putting all that together. I'm curious about the sort of interaction between the HSI designation and the MSI and the Minority Serving Institution. I know that when we were pulling together data, we included a lot of information about our Native American student population, proximity to tribal lands. Does a HSI make you an MSI? And how can we, yeah, enlighten me, please.
I'll let Riley go ahead and take a stab at that one first, since.
Sure. Yeah, so there's a little bit of gray area, and I'll admit I'm not familiar with some of the ins and outs, but there are certainly multiple designations. The let's see, the HBCUs, the tribal colleges and universities, and in general, those specific, along with the HSIs, can fall under the broader umbrella of minority serving institutions. However, there is another kind of more narrow designation of minority serving, which is often some of those solicitations, for example, we are not eligible for. And so that's kind of what I was alluding to in the part where I said, you know, I pay attention to MSI opportunities. So many of these opportunities that are quite broad for any minority serving institution, usually we as HSIs, our 3 universities, will be eligible for. And again, so you can kind of look at the MSI as the broad umbrella, and then we have the historically Black colleges and universities, tribal colleges and universities, the NAPZ designation, which I never get right, so I'm not even going to try, and then Hispanic Serving Institution. So those kind of fall under that umbrella, and with the caveat that there is kind of another more narrow definition of an MSI, and I'm just not remember it. There's some language here. If anyone else can remember that, please jump in and save me for this, but that we are not actually eligible for. So it's a little gray. I usually, if we're going after an opportunity that is only eligible for MSIs, and the language in the solicitation is a little gray and it's not clear, it doesn't say HSI, you know, I always reach out to the PO, you know, immediately get their email, get it for our records, because you're not wrong. It can be a little bit confusing.
On the ASU side, our research administration eligibility page has that language listed for what we are and what we are not. And so you can kind of match it up that way. And then if it's more cumbersome than that or more confusing, email my office, research development, or research advancement services, and we can determine the eligibility with you and the PO to make sure we have our documents all lined up in a row. But we do divide it out between what we are and what we are not. And that's on the research advancement page.
Any more questions in the room, Hayley?
Don't think so. Well, we just wanted to give you our contact information so you can jot that down, and because we are happy to answer questions, and every solicitation seems to be different and differently written. So every eligibility problem comes up every single time. So we'd be happy to help you with those. So here's our contact information. And as you can see, we're in different locations or different types of offices. I'm in the research and development office, which doesn't always handle everything HSI. We do a lot of other things, but our HSI specific people, Hayley and Claudia, are in their development offices for the HSI initiatives specifically. So a little different point of views, but we're all available to you to assist. I think that wraps us up for the presentation here. Is that the last slide, Hayley?
Yeah, I just want to mention, just in case, if anyone, I'm not tech savvy enough to figure out how I can I can still screen share and then drop links into the chat. So I just want to mention that, you know, if anyone is interested in the Arizona HSI consortium work, you know, feel free to reach out to me. I will connect you with, you know, the right folks for that space. It really is a wonderful way to bring together our 3+, you know, 17 HSIs in Arizona into a community of practice. And it's incredible the work that we've been able to leverage through that in a way that's like, you know, it's much easier to kind of work together rather than against each other and some of this and some of these funding opportunities. So feel free to reach out. I am currently working on a Title V $7 million proposal. So if I don't respond immediately, I will flag it and definitely get back to you soon. But thank you all so much. We've enjoyed being here today.